Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to Pnoid News. So, I saw something today that was very interesting, and I think it, I think that like it deserves an opportunity to be broken down, right? And it deserves a decent discussion. I think it's important, right? Like, because there's a few things in American culture that legitimately they don't really make any sense from our perspective. But like if you put yourself into somebody else's shoes, they make absolute and utter complete sense. Right? So Whoopi Goldberg has been suspended because she said the Holocaust wasn't about race, it's about man's inhumanity to man. And this is an important ideology, right? Like this is something that legitimately is it's perfect from the black ideology in America, right? It's something that you wouldn't understand. It wouldn't you would understand if you were like just a regular white person, right, in America, like you're a poor white trash individual, right? But like black people get it inherently because they're not part of the group that has been running things for the past 3 or 4 or 500 years, or even 1,000, right? So let's listen to what they say, right? It's about a 6-minute clip. I apologize. I'm gonna make you watch these fat fucking broads. I'm sorry about that, but it's fucking fascinating. There's a couple points where I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna I'm gonna address a couple things, but like after that, we're gonna break this down a little bit to understand exactly why it is that she feels this way and why she shouldn't be suspended, because this is literally just about perspectives. So let's rock and roll.
Required reading list after complaints from students and parents, including a former black student who said it made her uncomfortable, and a Tennessee school pulled the graphic novel Mouse out of their lessons on the Holocaust because it contained some nudity and some bad language. Personally, I'm shocked because, given the story of Mouse, I'm surprised that that's what made you uncomfortable, the fact that there was some nudity. And I mean, it's about the Holocaust, the killing of 6 million people, but that didn't bother you. But the naked
I'm not sure that they don't use the naked part as a kind of a canard to throw you off from the fact that they don't like history that makes.
I'm getting really tired of the word they, if I'm honest with you, right? And it's not just from the left, it's from the right too. Like, I am tired of people saying the word they, right? Because everybody is assuming that there's somebody in charge making these moves. And it's just not. Literally, the reason why people are complaining is because people are complaining. This is how democracy works, right? Like when individuals have a voice, it's the ideology of Vox Populi, Vox Dei, the voice of people or the voice of God, right? It's really simple. When motherfuckers bitch go, I don't want my kids, you know what I'm saying, seeing this nudity. That's literally what it is. It's not a canard to hide from the entire conversation, right? And this ideology of they is aggravating as fuck to me, because there is no they. It doesn't exist. Just like there is no they on the right-wing side when they go, oh man, this is all planned. They're trying to starve us out. These fucking retarded people like Monk Farmer and shit. Or not Monk Farmer. Ice Age Farmer. I'm sorry, Monk. I love you, brother. You know what I mean? I apologize. I'm just getting the name mixed up. Right? But Ice Age Farmer, right? Who, they stand here and they spout this nonsense about shelves being empty and shit. Right? But the truth is things are breaking down. The entire system's breaking down. Remember, there's a lot of boomer truckers and they're all retiring, right? So, you're going to have transportation problems because they refuse to pay more money. This is the world's greatest, ideology of the Great Reset. The real Great Reset should be that all of a sudden we take our share of fucking profit. The bottom part of this country takes back what is theirs, and it comes out of the market. And the market collapses, and the boomers starve. Fuck them, right? Because this is the one opportunity for the boomers, kids and grandkids, which I understand a lot of y'all don't have any because, like, you know, you're selfish pieces of garbage. But it's one opportunity for all of us to do better, right? But anyway, like, yo, there is no they. Like, yo, get tired of this ideology of they. That doesn't fucking exist.
Makes white people look bad.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is white people doing it to white people.
Yeah.
So this is, you know.
And this is really what we're going to address, right? Is like Jews thinking that they're not white people. Let's keep this 100%, all right? Joy Behar looks just like my grandmother, all right? It looks like my friend's grandmother's, okay? Legitimately, she's just a cosmopolitan 60-year-old white woman. I'm going to say something real controversial here. Jews are not separate from white folks. Legit, like the Jews are just another set of white people. Okay, Ashkenazi Jews, legit, nothing different than Germans or Polish or Italians or Spanish or British or fucking Swedish or Danish. That's all they are. And this is the problem with this argument. Let's keep going though.
Y'all go fight amongst yourselves, but don't, you know.
Well, and look at what kids watch these days and the music they listen to say that when proving or showing them a work of history or art or something that happened is bad language or nudity, turn off reality TV, turn off the radio, turn off everything they're doing because kids are exposed to this stuff really early in inappropriate situations, not ones where you're learning or teaching.
Yeah, and the nudity is a drawing of his mom who died during the Holocaust. Yeah. I mean, in Mouse, which is the other thing.
And can I say, like, yo, Jesus Christ, these women got fat. Like, yo, what has happened over here? I haven't been paying attention to The View for a while, but, like, legitimately, yo, what happened to y'all? Y'all, like, blew up like Oompa Loompas. Like, what is going on here, man? Somebody needs to go juice y'all at the factory. Damn.
It's just insane.
But I don't know what's going on. Story
it's about the world.
Like, did you see that Spanish chick? Hold up. Wait a minute. Where'd that Spanish chick at? Hang on a second, man. We gotta find that Spanish chick real quick. Hang on a minute. Wait. Where is that Spanish broad at? Man, listen, cause like, yo, what happened to that bitch? Yo, man, I lost it. Yo, legit, fucking, yo, we're gonna try and pause as she's on.
Which is the other thing. It's just insane.
But I don't know what's going on. Story.
Look at that! Fuck happened? That bitch looks like Newt Gingrich. Leo, what happened to that chick? She used to be skinny. Jesus. Like, yo, what? Did they just got like a trough of butter out back? They're like, wow, man, y'all have gotten fat. Fuck is going on?
It's about the words.
It's about the N-word.
Yes,
girl is triggered in the class by the word.
Because if you're sitting amongst lots of students and you're reading it out loud, it comes up a lot and makes people uncomfortable.
And especially if you're the only black kid student there. I mean,
so that was what they're talking about triggering. I don't know if that should stop people from having it as reading, but it's stopping as required reading.
Well, so there's an entire bill moving through the Florida legislature right now about banning any conversation in schools that make people feel uncomfortable because of their race or gender. And there's also in Florida a bill banning talking about LGBTQ conversations. It's being referred to as don't say gay. So I don't know what's happening with all of this banning going.
Well, it's really simple. Y'all took shit way too goddamn far, right? When it comes down to it. Like, the college and university individuals took shit way too fucking far, right? And now there's a pushback to like, whoa, slow down, all right? Legit. Like, we're supposed to be coming together, not dividing apart, right? And like, that was the ideology over the past 30 or 40 years that's been pushed on Americans. So like, you know, now we're on that level where we go, yeah, nah. How about we just, in general, we don't talk about this and we just go move forward, right? Because, like, we don't need to drive the fucking point home any more than we already are. Like, there's enough division and bullshit, you know what I mean, in the world. Like, the whole point of this was to be colorblind. And now, like, motherfuckers like, okay, well, we were colorblind. Now it's equity. It's not really, like, it's a socioeconomic problem, right? You know, it's the issue of, like, you know, the top 1% of income holders hold like 60% of the fucking country's wealth. So like that's a bit of an issue, right? You know, when individuals can't afford homes, you know what I mean, they can't afford to have kids or families and everything in society is completely fucked. you tend to bring race back up. Like, it just tends to be how it works. Let's keep rocking though. Like, Jesus Christ, look at that bitch. Fuck. What happened to her?
Going on, we talked about Beloved being banned, Mouse, To Kill a Mockingbird, Conversations. I think it's making it very difficult to teach kids. And all these people who...
It's not making it difficult to teach kids. Like, literally, like, all you're doing is you're taking away the fucking Marxist, fucking communist bullshit the fuck out of the classrooms, right? You're taking away the divisive shit that makes it more difficult to teach kids, right? See, what you should be teaching kids is things like math and history and, like social studies and, well, not even social, like reading, right? Like, maybe, just maybe, instead of like, let's teaching them about like fucking, race, let's teach them how to read. Like, that might be fucking important. You know what I mean? Like, you might want to make them read things like Shakespeare. Might be fucking helpful, right? And then, like, once you go to college, or if you want to fucking, like, study it later on in life, you can do all this shit. But, like, you don't need to be teaching about fucking race in goddamn high school and shit. Legit.
Who talk about and complain about people being snowflakes. How do you not raise snowflakes if you don't expose them to reality?
Right? This was the plan with these anti-history laws that started being passed, these alleged CRT laws that started being passed. I don't think people saw far enough into the future. You start banning discussions about race, then you start banning discussions about the Holocaust, then you start banning discussions about the LGBTQ community. That's where it started, and this was all very planned. And in my
It wasn't planned. There was no plan. Like, people were just like, bro, like, stop telling our kids that they're fucking evil because they're white. Like, that was the plan, right? Like, it's nothing more, nothing less. Like, stop fucking trying to make individuals guilty because of what the fuck it is they did before, right? Because, like, this is what we're gonna get into in the end of this bitch. You know what I'm saying? It's every fucking people had some shit that they did that was fucking terrible. Let's keep rocking.
And what bothers me the most is people saying, I don't want my children to be uncomfortable. Well, how about your children being uncomfortable in a way of learning empathy, in a way of learning sorrow, in a way of being able to empathize with other people's plights? I've always said if my children are subjected to racism at a very early age, which they are, then your child should be okay with having a little.
Like, here's a real bitch. Like, I bet you this broad has zero empathy for any dude who's going through, like, the fucking court system right now. Or any dude who legitimately, like, is getting accused of false rape accusations. Right? Like, she has no fucking empathy for, like, anybody the fuck else but her plight. And that's the problem in the end of the day. Like, these motherfuckers here have no empathy for anybody the fuck else but their bullshit. And because of the fact that she's a light-skinned black woman, you know what I'm saying? Light-skinned motherfuckers don't feel like they're black enough, so, like, therefore they'll stand here and try to be extra goddamn black, right? And they'll sit here and motherfucking push these black ideologies. Like, the entirety of BLM is led by light-skinned black women and Jews, if you want to be honest with you. But, like, it is what it is. Like, let's keep rocking.
Bit of discomfort and learning about the racism that exists.
I observe that young children are naturally empathetic.
Yeah.
And that the empathy is kind of drained out of them by their parents and things that they hear out there.
It's that song. It's the song.
Yeah, because, like, legitimately, like, if you're too empathetic in this world, you'll end up, you know what I'm saying, like, losing your mind and, like, being suicidal because of all the bad things that happen. Eventually, you got to harden yourself up and go, man, listen, like, the world's a fucking terrible place sometimes. It is what it is. You're going to have to deal with, like, fucking the world, and you got to just kind of block shit out and try to do for yourself, because, like, you have responsibilities and things to do. you can't walk around motherfucking with your vagina hanging out all day long.
Got to be carefully taught from South Pacific.
Yeah.
My grandson, I remember when he was around 3 or 4 years old, there was a kid who was in trouble for some reason, and I mean, it gives me chills. My grandson put his arm around the kid, like, I'm with you. And when you talk about empathy, children are naturally like that.
Well, it's the parents'
and if you teach a white kid what happened to his friend who happens to be black, he might feel terrible about what happened. That doesn't mean he feels bad that he
who happens to be. Yeah, that's always the word, right? Legit, is it who happens to be black? You know what I'm saying? Right? You don't, like, man, listen, like, these stupid fucking precursors we use for our words are so retarded.
He did something.
Exactly.
This is a confusion that they're creating, I believe.
Well, Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that colleges, this all started in colleges and universities and not wanting to make kids uncomfortable. And we talked about it once here on the show with actually Van Jones when he said, if I send my kids to school, I want them to be uncomfortable. I want people to push back on their beliefs because otherwise we're not preparing kids to go out into the real world. We're preparing them for a world that doesn't exist outside of their own house.
Well, also, if you're going to do this, then let's be truthful about it, because the Holocaust isn't about race.
All right. You're like, yo, the Holocaust isn't about race. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, legit, I don't know exactly what just happened. My internet motherfucking died and shit. Like, it just straight disconnected. I don't know what the fuck just happened to my shit. But anyway, right? Like, yeah, like she's standing here saying that the Holocaust isn't really about race, right? Which is kind of a banana statement in the end of the day, right? When it really comes down to it. But when you really start thinking about it and you really get into it, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's reality. You know what I mean? Like, it really is. Like, it's some real shit that actually fucking exists. Because the truth of the matter is that, you know, the Holocaust really wasn't actually about, you know what I mean, like race, when you really think about it.
No, it's not about
maybe
race.
ethnicity.
Well, they
No,
consider
it's
Jews
about
a different race.
But it's not about race. It's not about
Well,
race.
what is it about?
Because it's about man's inhumanity to man. That's what it's about.
But it's about white supremacy. It's
Well,
about
but
going
it's not-
after
it's
Jews
not about
and
ideal race.
gypsies
It's
and
But these are two
Romas.
white groups of people.
Well, they
How
were
do we
after black
They
people
didn't see
too.
them as white.
And they were
Right. All right. So, like, these are two white groups of people. Well, let's have this conversation, because this is the part that I really wanted to get on, right? When it came down to it. Like, this is really, you know what I mean, like, where I wanted to go with this. Because when you're a black person, right, in America, right, it's important to understand, like, how a black person sees America, right? Because black people don't see different races of white people differently. They don't see Jews and Germans and Italians and Greeks and fucking British and French and China and fucking Spanish and, you know, like Russian and Polish. They don't see any of that shit. They just see white, right? Like, that's what they see. And then, like, when they see Asian people, they see Asians. When they see Spanish people, they see Spanish people. And that's all they see, right? Because, like, in their world, that's how this operates. Like, they don't separate out white people the way we do. Okay. And it's important to understand when she says, like, it's about man's inhumanity to man, right? What you got to remember is that, like, every race has its shit, right? Whether it be the Romans standing here, you know what I'm saying? Like, killing off, you know, 1/3 of the Celts, whether you're talking about the British with the Boer Wars, right? Whether you're talking about, you know what I mean, or the Dutch with the Boer Wars, right? Or whether you're talking about the British with the, you know what I'm saying, Indian Wars, right? Whether you're talking about the Japanese with the rape of Nanking, whether you're talking about, you know what I'm saying, the Russians with the Holodomor, right? Whether you're talking about, you know what I mean, like, the French Indochina Wars, right? Whether you're talking about, you know, the Spanish conquering of the Aztecs, right? Like, yo, we all have shit. In the end of the day, the Persians, you know what I'm saying, the Persian Wars back in, you know what I mean, the 12th century or the 8th century BC and shit, or the 1st century BC, right? Whether, you know what I mean, you're standing here talking about the Greek and the slave trade, right, inside of the Greeks, right? Whether you're standing here talking about, and then, like, so, all right, yeah, right? Or whether, here's the real bitch, right? You know what I'm saying? Because, like, when you start really thinking about it, the North American slave trade was a triangle, right? Like, basically you had, you know, livestock heading down to the West Indies, and then, you know what I mean, like, slaves coming in, and then you had, like, raw and manufactured goods going back and forth between Great Britain, and molasses coming up, and molasses and sugar coming up from places like, you know what I mean, the West Indies, South America, the southern colonies into New England, right? And then, you know what I mean, rum going into Africa, and manufactured and textiles going into Africa and shit, right? And a lot of this shit, when it comes down to it, you know what I mean, had motherfucking Jews involved, right? So, like, literally, like, you know, the fucking Jewish people as a whole were part of the slave trade. I'm not going to say like they were the majority of it, like that thing just posted, but like it's one of those things that actually existed, right? You know what I mean? All right, so a careful and honest footnote, The Secret Relationship, reveals that Jewish scholars concluded that Jews in the South mostly lived in towns and cities. Neither this book nor Martin's explains the significance of this fact. In actuality, slave ownership was much more common in southern urban areas than in the southern countryside. The relatively high proportion of Jewish slaveholding was a function of the concentration of Jews in cities and towns, not of the descent or religion. It also is the case that urban slaveholders of whatever background owned fewer slaves on average than rural slaveholders, including those on large plantations. Thus, the proportion of slaveholders has never been an accurate measure of the social or economic importance of slaveholding unless it is assessed by its own merit and shit, right? So understand something like, yo, that's really what it is, because in the end of the day, when you look at America, right, and you think about like things that are like black-owned companies or like things that are considered black, you think about stuff like Air Jordans, which is ran by a company named Nike, I'm sorry, by Nike, right? And then all you had, this is Michael Jordan's shoe, right? This is just Michael Jordan's the guy who, like, you know, is the face behind the shoe, but like the truth is the company is owned by Nike, right? And the only real black companies in America that you really associate with black people are things like Ciroc, which is owned by Jay-Z, right? Like every car you buy comes from, you know what I'm saying, a white company. Every refrigerator or, you know what I mean, like all the computers are Japanese, right? So like understand something, like as a black person in this country, like what they see as a whole is that white people run things and white people are in control of everything, and they don't separate white people out by race, right? They don't really have that. They don't have that mentality, because like they are well aware that it doesn't really matter like the race of an individual, you know what I'm saying, if it's not one of them. Because like they consider themselves a monolith. They consider themselves all in the same boat. And that's how black people have always seen themselves. It just is what it is, right? And so like for them to say like the Holocaust wasn't about race, it's about man's inhumanity to man, like yeah, of course. Like that's a black perspective, because they're like, they were killing other white people. Like, why are you saying it's about race? Because they consider Jewish white. You know what I mean? Jews have always been trying to escape being white. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we're not actually white, but we are white. You know what I mean? It's white when it suits them, but like, you know, it's not white. You know what I mean? Like when, you know, it's, oh, you're being anti-Semitic. I'm like, no, man, I'm just addressing you as like the same way I'd address a German, or I address like a fucking British person or Danish or Italian or Greek, right? Like all of us have our shit. Like it is what it is. Anyway, look, I'm Tom Pease with Pnoid News. Y'all know the deal. Like, share, and subscribe. Peace.